Walt Disney was an Imagineer. He started with a mouse, and anything he dreamed, he knew he could make. He opened Disneyland in 1955. Time magazine called it the most lavish of its time. There were 1 million patrons to the park within 7 weeks of it opening. The park opening didn't go as well as they planned. They had problems with the rides, there wasn't enough water. He wanted these kinks ironed out. He wanted it to be the best park ever. Whatever he set his mind to, he wanted it perfect, he wanted it done right. He noticed that people weren't coming from the east. Most of the patrons were from California. Less than 5% of the people came from east of the Mississippi. The location of Disneyland, it's in California, beautiful weather, but the location was bottlenecked with hotels and restaurants, and he wasn't happy with that. He wanted his own space. He wanted his own plan. Walt Disney decided it was time to move east. He wanted to take it a step further. He had a dream. He scouted for locations in St. Louis, scouted in New Jersey, looked in Florida. In New Jersey, there was a climate issue. It'd be seasonal park, not as much money coming in. In St. Louis, it would have been an indoor park. The rumor is that someone had mentioned that he wouldn't get anyone into the park without alcohol, and he didn't like that. You can't tell him that. That's a rumor, though. You can't really, it's all hearsay. Florida, however, had major highways leading straight into Orlando. The climate was good, and there was plenty of land to be bought. In 1964, he started buying swampland southwest of Orlando. He paid $80 an acre at the cheapest, and the average was about $200 an acre. He used fake names for his companies. It was all dummy companies. He didn't want anyone knowing that Walt Disney was coming to town. So he used the name like Bay Lake. Some of them sounded very official, and some of them were kind of a joke, like Retlaw, which is Walter spelled backward. So he was very smart with what he was doing, and he knew what he wanted, and he was playing it real close to the chest. No one knew about his plans to expand until he was ready. He was a very smart businessman. The names, actually, that he used, if you go to Disney World, are on the windows in Main Street. It has all the names of the fake companies that he used, so it's a little tribute to him. In 1964, he participated in the World's Fair. He had 4 projects. One was animatronic Abraham Lincoln, and people swore that when they saw Abraham Lincoln, they thought it was him. They thought he walked to the edge of the stage and shook people's hands, that he had done this so well. He did Carousel of Progress, which is also in Disney World right now, and 2 other for GE and Ford, and then just he needed money for his project, and the World's Fair was the way to show people that he was serious and he was ready to go. As things do, his name leaked out in the fall of 1965, and people knew he was coming to Florida. Prices of the acres in Florida rose to $1,000, so he was very smart to keep it low. He purchased 43 square miles of Florida, 2 times the size of Manhattan, by the time this was all said and done. What was it all for? What was he going to do with all this land? Walt wanted a shielded community. He wanted it to be a safe space. He didn't want the bottleneck of the other hotels. He didn't want the restaurants outside. He wanted it to be his community. Walt's dream was Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. This community was for living, working, and school. He wanted to change how people lived. He didn't want a community with crime. He didn't want slums. He didn't want pollution. He wanted a safe, thriving community for the future. So Walt knew in order to get what he wanted as a dream, he needed the theme park because people were used to Disney as the theme park. So he used that to get to where he wanted with Epcot. He wanted roads and monorails underground to keep the kids safe. He had this vision for this beautiful future community. Kept it a secret. Only a handful of people knew about Epcot. Walt got really sick. He had lung cancer. And the day before he died, he was talking to his brother Roy. And he told Roy exactly what he envisioned for his community, mapped it out for Roy. He died on December 16th of 1966, and his dream of Epcot was never realized. Epcot was put on hold. Disney, as a company, did not want to run a community without Walt's guidance because it was his dream. Instead, they opened Walt Disney World in October of 1971. Roy Disney, instead of calling it Disney World, like the Disneyland in California, he wanted to call it Disney World Walt Disney World to make sure that his brother's legacy would live on. Roy waited until Disney World was open to retire. It was dedicated on October 25th, 1971. Epcot opened in 1982 as a different theme. It was opened as a world showcase that has pavilions for 11 different countries in it, and also a land and a sea area. And one of the things Walt also enjoyed was he wanted a place where you could walk and feel like you were in different places at different times. Today, 18.6 million people visit Disney World each year. In 2013, 16.2 million people visited Disneyland. Disney World has grown. Instead of just the one park Magic Kingdom, it's now 4 parks, and it's always expanding. One thing that Walt did say was, we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. He also said that Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world. Epcot may not be exactly what Walt envisioned, but I think he would be very proud with the way that they've kept imagining.